is Dr. Nina Ashford, the Chief of Public Health Services for the county, Dr. Earl Stoddard, Assistant Chief Administrative Officer, and our guests today are Anthony Featherstone, who is the Executive Director for WorkSource Montgomery, as well as Judy Costello, Director, Economic Development Special Projects in the Office of the County Executive. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Good afternoon, Mr. County Executive. Take it from here.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us again this week. After delays in reporting of unemployment data due to federal shutdown, we still await data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics on the latest unemployment figures for the county. As you can see from this chart from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, it was last updated on October 1st. New unemployment data from Montgomery County is supposed to be updated today, December 3rd, but as of right now, we've not seen the data. Whenever this data is finally updated, we can expect to see a continued increase in unemployed workers throughout this year due to the impacts of the decisions of the Trump administration and congressional Republicans. The consequences of federal actions are creating uncertainty for thousands of county residents. And my computer just came back. Okay. And when the federal government freezes, slows agency operations, lays off essential research staff, it sends shockwaves through our community. People who've dedicated their careers to science and public service and healthcare now face instability that they did not create. And we are responding with tools and with the partnerships we've been able to build for moments like this. The Mobilized Montgomery Federal Workforce Career Center is already helping workers update resumes, explore training programs, access counseling, and connect with employers that are actively hiring. This is the only in-person job center in the nation focused on displaced workers, federal workers, and contractors. Since this facility opened in October, it has served over 2,100 career seekers. On December 17th, from 1 to 4 p.m., WorkSource Montgomery and the Maryland Workforce Exchange is hosting the Montgomery County Quarterly Career and Resource Fair for federal workers and job seekers at the Silver Spring Civic Center. WorkSourceMontgomery.com has more information about this event and a link to register for the career fair. So if you're interested in coming, just sign up, click the link. Even as we help workers in transition, we're strengthening the foundation of our economy that stands on more than federal hiring cycles. That's been, Montgomery County's history for years was we were just totally dependent on the federal government. And we had a rock solid employment base. We thought we were inflation proof, or not inflation proof, but recession proof. And that's no longer true. And we've been working to not pivot away from the federal government, but to add to the number of things we do in Montgomery County to make us more appealing to people who have, business other than with the federal government. And we've done a lot of work on that. And we're going to continue to do it. Even as we help workers in transition, we are strengthening the foundation of our economy. And Montgomery County delivered meaningful progress this year with some key economic development wins. Viva White Oak is moving forward after years of delay. This project has been talked about for pretty much 2 decades with WCB Real Estate as the development partner and the county proposing its first use of a tax-increment financing tool to support essential roads and utilities. We're finally turning a long-promised project into reality. When built out, Viva White Oak will bring nearly 9,000 permanent jobs and more than $60 million in new annual revenue. In North Bethesda, Hines has been selected as the master developer of the 14-acre site next to the metro station, which will become the permanent home of the University of Maryland Institute for Health Computing and the UMIHC. That's its cute little acronym. Already has more than 100 people working in the temporary space and fills a major gap in our region's life sciences ecosystem. It's already partnering with some of the major drug companies in Montgomery County, including AstraZeneca, which is what the IHC was created. It's a little bit different than the traditional university program, just for nerdy people who might be interested. Instead of bringing over an academic research institution that's kind of internally focused on the research being done by the academicians, it's actually focused on providing the talent and support of the folks who are already working with AI in life sciences and to bring that to bear and to help existing companies in Montgomery County and elsewhere. So it's really designed as a service delivery augmentation for the industries we have in Montgomery County, not simply a research facility. And I think it might be helpful for some people to know what exactly its intention is. Private industry is also making long-term commitments, and last month AstraZeneca announced a $2 billion expansion in Maryland, including a new clinical manufacturing facility in Gaithersburg that's going to create 100 new jobs, retain 400 jobs, and support 1,000 construction jobs for the period of construction, of course. This is in addition to their new $300 million cell therapy manufacturing facility that opened earlier this year in Rockville. Companies are also choosing Montgomery County for major expansions and relocations, including AeroVironment in Germantown, Liatris and its thermal insulation operations in Rockville, and X-Energy's headquarters moving to Gaithersburg, and Bernstein Management Corporation relocation to Bethesda. A little bit more, particularly about Liatris. Liatris is really interesting. They have an insulation which can achieve an R10 value in 1 inch. And why that's important and a big deal for construction is if your goal is to get an R30 wall when you're building a house or building an office building, normally you would need about 6-inch studs in order to fit enough insulation in there. With their insulation, you can do this with normal 2x4s, and that brings down the cost of construction. It also brings down the weight of the building. So the ability to do things like this is really, one of the things that in the future could be game-changing for the construction industry. And I think it's nice to share a little bit of extra information with everybody out there rather than just saying it's here. It could be a really cool change in how construction is done. At the same time, we've strengthened our support for local businesses in several ways. Our business center team met with over 1,200 companies across the county and has provided more than 9,000 hours in extensive hands-on assistance for small businesses and entrepreneurs. This is something we recreated when I came into office because our economic development platform at the county level had been pretty much dismantled. And we had the Economic Development Corporation, which wasn't really focused on local businesses. And I had wanted to bring back a focus on local businesses so we could help them as well. And so this is one of the results of that. We also deployed $4 million in Economic Development Fund expenditures during calendar year 2025 to support expansion and job creation. Finance has deployed $1 million in MOVE grants, job creation grants, and other business expansion incentives. And we announced nearly $7.5 million in commercialization awards to help small business owners bring their innovations to market. And we're launching a new AI Innovation Center, expanding programming at our 3 existing county innovation centers and strengthening support for technology entrepreneurs countywide. Our international outreach also continues to gain traction. We welcome delegations from around the world this year and met with companies at the Bio International and Select USA conferences. More international firms are considering Montgomery County than ever before. 9 companies already are now part of our innovation centers through the Maryland Global Gateway Program. And just this week, I met with representatives from our sister city, Daejeon, South Korea, who established trade outreach offices here in Rockville and also in Seattle. After they evaluated markets on both coasts, they just announced this week that while they will still work with partners in Seattle, their primary office will now be here in Montgomery County due to the many opportunities they have found here for collaboration and business growth. Daejeon, like many of our other international jurisdiction and business partners, are very attracted to our proximity to the nation's capital, the diversity of our population, and the quality of our public education system. I look forward to more opportunities coming from our international economic missions and outreach in 2026. So right now, we'd like to invite some important leaders when it comes to adding jobs to the county. Judy Costello is the director of our Economic Development Special Projects Unit, and she's been with me every one of the international trips we've been on. And Anthony Featherstone is the director of WorkSource Montgomery, is here to talk about efforts to get people back in the job market. And thank you both for joining us.
Thank you, Mr. County Executive. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Judy Costello. I've worked in economic development and supporting entrepreneurs in the region for a number of decades, and I've had the privilege of working in this office, in the Office of the County Executive, with many innovators, large and small, for the past several years. So the County Executive already shared a lot of facts. Happy to answer questions offline or hear about them, a lot of the numbers, but I think one of the important themes, given the economic times that we have, is a real effort by our county government to diversify the industry and make sure that we have more opportunities for displaced federal workers and anybody else who is seeking new job growth. So while our county remains the center of the third largest biohealth cluster in the country, and that was the most recent data even after the slowdown in January, according to Genetic Engineering News. The county executive referenced a total of actually 250 new jobs between the cell therapy manufacturing unit and the clinical manufacturing unit announced last week. And we have growth there and opportunities across the biohealth sector. But also he mentioned AV, AeroVironment. We have other advanced manufacturing companies that are growing. And that is an opportunity that our government is supporting through grants to companies large and small. Many of you may have seen the announcement recently about X Energy. I think the county executive just visited them last month with the Maryland Department of Commerce secretary. I was on their website the other day. There are more than 100 job openings now posted. Last week they announced a $700 million Series D funding. And they do have operations in other places where they're building some of their plants, like Texas. But guess what? There are more than 100 jobs on that website right now in Montgomery County. Engineering to accounting. It's a good example of how diversifying our economy is important. In terms of the small business support, those 1,200 companies that were visited, I think it's 9,000 person hours by our business center team. That team is only 8 people, a couple of whom work primarily on grants and staffing. So they are out on the street and answering incoming calls on a regular basis. And we can get you the exact statistics offline, but many of these businesses are not in biotech, and they're not in our target industries, which our economic development partners and MCEDC also support. They are other small businesses, including retail. I think that focused effort on helping provide resources to these companies is enabling more of them to succeed. The county executive mentioned Leatrice, the insulation company and energy, as an example of a small but growing business. We also recently visited Silvic up in Gaithersburg. That's a plant biotech company. And again, it's not traditional biotech, but that company alone may save the citrus crops when you and I eat oranges, because apparently a couple of years ago there were 130 million citrus trees. Now there are only 30. And it is a Montgomery County small business that has a proprietary vaccine that is the leading potential ability to save the citrus crops. What's important from an economic development standpoint is that they were only an idea, a patent, and a concept in 2021 with 3 people. We have supported their expansion through MOVE grants and innovation grants, and they now have grown to 17 people and expect to grow to 25, and to have their plant vaccine equivalent that's non-GMO and safe approved by federal regulatory authorities in the spring. Real quick on the international travel, as people working with international firms in economic development know, it takes a long time to build relationships, especially overseas. We first met a satellite component company in 2023 in Taiwan. Last month we signed an MOU. A press release will go out on this in the next couple of weeks. They are a Taiwanese-based satellite component company who want to manufacture their product here in Montgomery County after visiting a lot of other places, not only in the United States, but around the world. Also, during our most recent mission, we signed 2 other MOUs, one of them with a biotech consumables manufacturer That CEO is actually in Montgomery County now, looking for space to manufacture things like the tubes that are used when blood is drawn and other biotech consumables. And we signed another MOU with an association of companies like his, and they have already committed to visiting us in the spring because they want to put their association headquarters here. So there's lots of other information, but there's other important news you have to get to. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them offline or at the end of this. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Director Costello. Mr. Featherstone, do you have any remarks?
Yep. Good afternoon, everyone. And first, I want to thank the county executive for the opportunity to provide some remarks today. Anthony Featherstone, I get to have the pleasure of serving as the executive director for WorkSource Montgomery, Montgomery County's local workforce development board. Our role is to make sure that the companies that are here, that were mentioned, companies that are expanding, companies that are coming to Montgomery County, have the talent pool to thrive here in Montgomery County. And so, as mentioned, with what's happening at the federal level and the federal workers and federal contractors who are, back into job search mode, we've really sprung into action as a county, as a collective through Mobilize Montgomery over the past few months. And so, for those who don't know, Mobilize Montgomery is a coalition led by county government, economic development, workforce development, local chambers, and community organizations. And so the Federal Workforce Career Center was opened in October of this year through the Mobilize Montgomery Coalition. And as was mentioned, we've served well over 2,000 residents since our opening. So we've been really busy. During the first couple months, we've had the pleasure of also partnering with many government agencies and elected officials, as well as many of our local businesses in our employer community, from private companies like Lockheed Martin to Montgomery County government, Montgomery County public schools, and so forth, to make sure that our federal workers know and have access to the opportunity here in Montgomery County and in the region. When federal workers come to our center, they can expect a concierge approach. The crux of what we do is provide career coaching. And so we want to make sure that everyone has the virtual or in-person assistance to figure out how their skills translate into private sector, state government, or local government. So they're live career coaches and electronic or automated tools to help you figure out your next step. A lot of career professional skills training happening, focus a lot on storytelling. As you try to figure out how your skills translate, we want you to be able to wrap that up into a good elevator pitch or great concise responses when it comes to your interviewing. Resume development and resume support, and helping residents figure out what their job search strategy is based on what they've done and what they want to do next. We're also providing a lot of entrepreneurship support. We have a entrepreneurship cohort coming up in partnership with the Montgomery County Black Collective on December 17th. And so if you want to know more about that program, you can reach out to us. And then we also know that job searching is hard when you're in the market unexpectedly as a federal worker who has a high level of education, high level of experience, and has been highly compensated. And so if you are experiencing some mental health stress, we can make referrals and provide that level of support as well. And so it all starts with, a question of how can we help, so we can provide that concierge approach when you walk into the Federal Workforce Career Center. And so, with that, I just want to encourage residents, if you need help finding employment, to connect with us and learn more about what we can offer and tap into those services. I also want to call our local business community to connect with us if you have openings and you want an extra set of eyes and ears to help you find talent. You can visit us at mobilize-montgomery.com or worksourcemontgomery.com, or you can come see us in person at the Federal Workforce Career Center, which is located at 11510 Georgia Avenue in Wheaton. And so with that, I want to thank County Executive for your support again, and turn it back over to you, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Executive Director Featherstone. Okay, members of the media, if you have any questions for either Mr. Featherstone or Ms. Costello, please raise your hands. Any questions regarding these topics for our guests? I see Sioli Hackleby. She's from Bethesda today. Good afternoon. Thank you. Go ahead.
I just wanted to double check. I just looked at the Bureau of Labor Statistics website, and it looks like the state employment and unemployment data, which I think is what we're talking about here, what we were expecting today, is now scheduled to be released December 11th. So I'm just wondering, once that...
We lost your audio.
So sorry. I was just asking, once the data is released, does the county executive plan to, discuss that in more detail once we have it in hand?
I think we'll discuss it in as much detail as we can. I mean, I think the most important things, I think we know where most of the unemployment is going to come from. And I think we know there's, just a shortage of jobs. I mean, ironically, a lot of the likely landing places for federal employees would have been the private companies that support the federal agencies. So when they got cut along with it, landing places, a lot of the landing places, like I know for USAID, their private partners were logical landing places. They disappeared also when the main agency disappeared. So this is what's going to make relocation for people and jobs here difficult. And that's why we are really hoping that at the point Congress reconvenes, there can be some rethinking of some of the cuts they were making, like including in the budget full funding for NIH and FDA and some of the other key agencies in the area. And, they don't have to raise any taxes on any normal human beings to do that. All they have to do is reduce the amount of a tax cut they're given to billionaires. So I've said this before, all the suffering that's being inflicted on people is being inflicted for the sole purpose of making billionaires richer. One group of people that I usually don't think about needing government help to help increase their incomes. But that's the game in Washington right now. And so if people are wondering what's happening and why we're seeing these losses, it's because apparently other people need more money than you do. That's a problem.
Thank you. Do you have any follow-up questions? I guess not. Thank you. Members of the media, any other questions for Executive Director Featherstone or Director Costello regarding these topics this afternoon? No more question? Well, thank you both for joining us. You can remain in this media briefing or you can depart if you need to. Mr. County Executive, other topics.
Okay, carry on. Thank you very much. And Judy and Anthony, your work has been really important to the county. I just want you to know how much I appreciate what you do. The Montgomery County Council this week announced new leadership. I want to congratulate Natty Fani Gonzalez and Marilyn Balcom on their new roles as president and vice president of the council. I also want to express my appreciation to outgoing Council President Kate Stewart and Vice President Will Jawanda for their leadership over the past year. This has been one of the most challenging periods for our county since the pandemic. Through it all, Kate and Will remain steady and collaborative and deeply committed to progress, and their partnership made a difference, and I'm grateful for it. We're entering a period shaped by state budget constraints and continued unpredictability at the federal level, yet we're also seeing major economic development projects move forward and expanding affordable housing pipeline and real progress on climate, transportation, and support for vulnerable residents. So I look forward to working with the council's new leadership to maintain this momentum and ensure our county government meets the moment with clarity, compassion, and determination. I want to give people an idea of some of the really crazy stuff we're dealing with out of Washington. And I know there's so much, it's hard to pick, what I think is really worth highlighting, but I think this was really alarming to me. Our housing providers were talking about a change in the law that if, for example, you had a homeless shelter and you have somebody in there who had done fentanyl and had done an overdose, and you gave them Narcan, then either that person or the shelter could be prosecuted for aiding addiction or something along those lines. I mean, it is insane to tell you you're going to prosecute somebody for saving someone's life with Narcan, as if you're just supposed to sit back and watch them die. I'm not kind of sure what kind of moral monsters are running the administration, but the idea that you would accept death as a reasonable outcome for somebody who has an overdose that you could stop from dying is just baffling me. And I hope it baffles people who are listening to this because, you know, in all the headlines, and I know people don't have the energy to read everything that's happening. It's like a flood of insanity streaming to us on a regular daily basis. But people need to understand the depths to which the president and his friends are willing to go in order to make life better for billionaires. I mean, it comes down to that. No matter how you slice this, all this stuff is fundable. None of this stuff would have required additional taxes. We could have gone on as we were. Only the necessity to cut billionaire taxes, that's what's driving this. And it's upsetting. I mean, it's just mind-boggling, actually. Meanwhile, you may have caught an important message from Montgomery County Chief of Police this week highlighting how MCPD officers identify themselves. There's been an understandable concern in recent weeks about federal enforcement actions happening around the region. Some federal agencies are using unmarked vehicles. People wear masks. They don't wear any identification. They don't have uniforms that identify who they represent. And they're grabbing people, saying they're arresting people and taking them away. This has created a lot of fear and confusion, affecting people who are simply trying to live their lives here. I will note that the overwhelming majority of people that they've taken in so far have nothing to do with criminal activity. They're just regular immigrants trying to get by and make their place in America. Also, they pay taxes. The president doesn't like to acknowledge that, but they often pay taxes, particularly, you know, when they've got a regular job in a regular restaurant, working in the, you know, above the board economy. Those folks pay taxes, and they're largely ineligible for the benefits that those taxes pay for. So, you know, these aren't people on a free ride. These people who are paying and not even getting the benefits for what they pay for. Just like to emphasize that a little bit. But what we don't want to do is add any fear to our community. So our officers are always identifiable. Their badges say police officer or police detective, followed by the words Montgomery County, Maryland. Their vests and jackets now display the words Montgomery County Police on the front and on the back. And every officer wears a name tag with their last name and an identification number. Those standards do not change. MCPD is proactively working to ensure residents understand exactly how to recognize Montgomery County officer, no matter the assignment or the uniform style. The reason for this transparency is pretty simple. Trust matters. People need to know who's approaching them, who's knocking on their door, and who is exercising authority in their community. Our department understands that, and as the county executive, I want residents, especially those who may feel targeted or vulnerable, to know that MCPD is committed to being visible, identifiable, and accountable. We also continue to communicate this information in multiple languages and provide clear information so that every resident knows their rights and understands who's serving them. If anyone has any doubts about whether someone is an MCPD officer, you can also call 301-279-8000 to confirm it immediately, and that number is staffed 24/7. On Monday, we took a moment to commemorate World AIDS Day alongside healthcare professionals and advocates. It's a reminder of the global struggle to end the HIV-related stigma and the opportunity to honor those we've lost. And we will work toward a future where HIV is no longer a public health threat. I mean, I remember in the darkest days of that, and I was fairly young when this happened. You know, I lost some friends early on. People who got together no longer got together. And it was kind of devastating to the community. And for a long time, when it appeared that this was only affecting the lesbian and gay population, there was a stunning disinterest in the medical community or the research in actually helping these people. And it took a while before this became front and center as a focus of research. And it's really important. You know, today we're in a very different position. We have drugs that can treat this far better than they did before. They can actually effectively cure people. And that's a long journey to have made. HIV's had a huge impact on the Black community, particularly among Black women. In Montgomery County, women make up 38% of the newly diagnosed cases with HIV. 81% of all women living with HIV in our county are Black. We must continue to reduce these significant health disparities in our community through efforts such as the American Health Program, the African American Health Program. They work in coordination with important community partners to raise awareness about health disparities. And their work is not limited to HIV epidemic, but also focuses on the importance of health and wellness. Community outreach by our Department of Health and Human Services on sexual health and wellness is essential in keeping more people getting tested for HIV. Awareness is key because early diagnosis means treatments can start quickly. It's hard to imagine how the fight against AIDS would have progressed without the work done through the National Institutes of Health, based here in Bethesda. For too long, our LGBTQ community, as I said, struggled with AIDS being taken seriously. But with the heroic work done by scientists and researchers in Montgomery County and throughout the world, many more lives would have been lost. It really made a difference. Our scientific institutions have the opportunity to make that kind of impact. Let's continue to support them as they fight against the funding cuts so they can preserve their mission to help save lives. More resources about HIV/AIDS, as well as other sexual information, is available on montgomerycountymd.gov/HHS. And finally, every year we make sure that Rosa Parks is not forgotten. She was a courageous American who changed the course of our country by refusing to surrender her seat on a Montgomery, Alabama bus 70 years ago this week on December 1st, 1955. Her quiet strength sparked the Montgomery bus boycott led by the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and it set in motion a movement that reshaped our understanding of justice and equality. The boycott lasted more than a year. Families who relied on bus transportation to get to work, to school, and to their lives, to live their lives, sacrificed greatly. Rosa Parks lost her job and endured harassment, but she stood firm. Her dignity became a national symbol of the fight against segregation. Her story reminds us of why transportation equity is a civil right. It underscores the responsibility transit agencies have to serve everyone fairly. That's an important thing to remember in a county as diverse as ours. It remains important today to remove the barriers that hold people back. The commitment guides our work. We put everything under a microscope to look at our policies, procedures, and budget considerations and make sure that it treats all residents as equals. We eliminated ride-on bus fares this fiscal year to make sure the ability to pay is never a barrier to mobility. We continue programs that ensure seniors, people with disabilities, county youth can ride on more Metro buses within the county for free using the specialized Smart Trip card and youth cruiser cards, which are available at schools and county libraries. Throughout December, MCDOT will honor Rosa Parks' legacy by placing commemorative interior cards on the inside of our nearly 400 ride-on buses. It's a reminder to every rider of the courage it took to demand fairness and of the work we must continue today. I was proud to stand alongside Councilmember Lori Ann Sales, Will Juando, other council members, and transportation leaders in honoring Rosa Parks Day with a proclamation. Anyone can learn more about Rosa Parks and explore the importance of transit equity in Montgomery County by going to montgomerycountymd.gov/DOT. So before we open up for questions, I'll give my staff an opportunity to provide any other updates they want to share, and I'll start with my health team.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. County Executive. Tis the season for holiday cheer, which means also tis the season for extreme cold. We just wanted to take a moment and remind folks that Montgomery County Department of Health and Human Services, in collaboration with a number of our community-based providers, are providing services for residents that are concerned about the well-being of an unhoused individual or maybe unhoused yourself. You can call our 24-hour homeless resource line at 240-907-2683. 8. Individuals that need daytime warming centers can contact that line. Individuals that might find themselves in need of emergency shelter can call our crisis center at 240-777-4000, or you can show up at 1301 Picard Drive in Rockville. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ashford. Dr. Stoddard, do you have any statements this afternoon? I guess not. Okay, members of the media, any questions for the county executive and or the team this afternoon, please raise your hands. Any questions? I guess we don't have any questions, Mr. County Executive.
All right.
Thank you for joining us, everyone. Have a great afternoon. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.